This channel is about frugal living, and I like to challenge you and myself to think about ways that we can save money in ways that maybe we haven't really thought about before. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about shopping and clutter and how downsizing can actually be a very frugal thing to do. I hope you will stick around.
Hi, I'm Bonita and I am early retired. I'm not old enough yet for Social Security. I'm living on a low income and I am living off of savings. I live in Kansas on a farm and I have a donkey. This is Brownie. I have frugal videos all year round, and I hope that you will join me this year as we share ways to save money and live our dreams.
You have probably heard me, if you followed me for a while, compare clutter to weight loss. And I know that's probably not something that a lot of channels will talk about, but clutter and weight loss are so similar. So let me explain. If we have a lot of clutter, sometimes we don't even notice it. Sometimes it just becomes part of the background and we just learn to live with it. I was like that for a lot of years. When my kids were home, we had so much stuff. And I just thought, that's the way it is when you have a lot of kids. And then when they started moving out and I realized I was alone here with no kids, I had no one to blame it on anymore but myself. And weight loss is kind of the same thing. It creeps up on us. We don't notice it. And all of a sudden, we're like, how do I get this off when you didn't gain it overnight? And we didn't gain the clutter overnight. We just maybe didn't notice it or we ignored it and we just thought about something else. Clutter can actually be a sign of an emotional challenge. It can be too much stress. It can be not enough time in your life that is spreading you too thin. It can be a sign of grief. It can be a sign of you going out of the house to go shop because you don't want to be at home and you're looking for something to do, and then you have too much stuff. There's so many different reasons why we all go out and shop and bring in more things that we don't have room for. So when I started wanting to downsize and I realized, hey, this is on me now. No one else lives here. This is all my stuff. And I decided I wanted to reclaim some of that space. I started taking a look at whether or not I even wanted to bring any more stuff into my house. With me decluttering, it made me realize I didn't want to bring more stuff in. I wanted to get stuff out, and bringing stuff in was just going to make a bigger problem. So I made a rule right then that I wasn't replacing things if they didn't need replaced, that I was just going to use something else, and that I wasn't buying something unless it was really needed if something wore out. So say I had one pair of yoga pants and they wore out, I would sew them up, sew them up, sew them up, sew them up. And when they couldn't be sewed up anymore, then I would get another pair of yoga pants. But I challenged myself to not keep bringing stuff into the house because I wanted to have a clutter-free home that was relatively low maintenance for upkeep in my retirement. I didn't want to have my Saturdays filled with dusting like I used to do every Saturday when I had kids. I didn't want tons of chores where I'm having to pick up all these items and clean under them. I thought, I want an easy retirement, which means I want to reclaim some of my space and I don't want all of these little tasks to drag me down. So, not bringing things in was my first goal, and getting things out was the main goal, right up there with it. There are so many options to not bringing things in if we think that we need something. We can look for something else, like I just mentioned, that we already own. We can borrow something rather than going out and purchasing it. We can make something. We can reuse something. We can swap something. There are lots of options before we get to the point that we need to thrift or buy used or even look for purchasing something. So I try to go through all of those options before I think about purchasing something else. I'm wanting to keep a hold of the money that I have and use it for the things that I want to use it for in retirement. And spending money on clothes and other things when I already have so many clothes, to me, is just a waste of money. I would rather use it for experiences. So, one of the rules that I set for myself was to take a look at how much I was using of things. If you are from the era that I'm from, you may have heard a little dab will do ya. There used to be a commercial for Brill cream for men's hair, and that stuck with me over my childhood. So I try to not use more than I need, and that way I don't have to go purchase more of it. We all talk about being frugal with our shampoo, but it can be even things like pancake syrup, where we just cover our pancakes and half of that gets washed down the drain. So the next time you're getting ready to use something, think about the amount you really need to use, and are you using too much, or will a little dab do ya? Then I started focusing on what are the areas that I'm spending the most on. Am I spending the most on eating out? Am I spending the most on after work drinks? Where is a lot of my discretionary spending going? And can I do something else instead? And that's when I started carrying my water with me back and forth to work or anywhere that I went. And that kept me from picking up those little purchases so that I could stack more money in my retirement account to give me confidence to quit my job. But look at the areas you're spending the most in and start looking at whether or not they're even necessary, or will something else do just as well in its place. So my goal was to downsize how much I had in my house. I've lost count how many years I'm into this now. It's several years. It's probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years maybe, I don't know, but I wanted a manageable amount of items, which gave me the encouragement not to buy and to be more frugal and to use what I had, or maybe sell some of the things that I had, or give away some of the things that I had to gain space. My daughter was here last night. She took 4 or 5 games that were here that I had in this huge game stack upstairs. That was such a relief. Just those little things leaving the house bring me so much joy now, because I know I'm gaining some space and those items are going to someone that wants them. So starting to give stuff to my children early, where I could watch them enjoy things and watch them maybe wear that grandmother's wedding ring, or maybe wear that necklace I had that had rubies in it. Things like that, giving them to my kids now and they want them, brings me so much joy to see them enjoy them and know that they're not going to get lost now, and that they went where they were supposed to be. I don't want to wait until I'm gone for them to have to figure out who gets what on some of these things. I can help them decide now what they want and help them take the things that they want, and I get to enjoy watching them enjoy them. So I'm keeping the things that I use, I'm keeping the things I enjoy, and those things I'm going to keep around, because those things are the things I want to fill my house with. All of this extra stuff is just that. It is extra, and I don't need it around here, just cluttering up my mind, cluttering up my visual space. So I am working at getting things moved out of here. And it's a constant process. I wish I had never accumulated all this stuff, because I pictured my retirement to have tons of free days. And it's taking so long to go through and get rid of some of these things that I wish I'd never kept them to begin with, because now it's sucking up some of my retirement days. But, it is what it is, and everything I can get out of here, that now brings me joy rather than shopping and bringing it in. having less visual stimulation is good for me. When I can go in and sit down and see that nothing is cluttered, that the dining room table is clear, that the furniture is clear, that the floors don't have anything stacked on them in the corners, that just makes me relax in the evening. And I can't even explain to you the calmness that it brings me to know that this room is done, that I don't have anything I need to put away or figure out what to do with. I don't have anything I have to move if someone knocks on the door because I've got stuff on the table. And that is how I pictured my retirement. So I have some rooms done, but I also have some I still need to work on. So, if you are shopping or if you have a lot of clutter, sometimes it's important to look at that underlying problem that has got you where you're at. For me, it was a lack of time and it was just putting on blinders that I had all this stuff. I just thought everybody had all this stuff. That's just the way it was. Our house was small. We didn't have a lot of closets. We had kids. I made excuses of why I had too many things. And now those blinders are off. And I know these things are just things and they are just clutter. And there's just too many of them. And they're things that we're not using. And I just want to get them out of the house so that every room feels like the room I described. And that helped me a lot, sitting down and visualizing, how do I want my house to look? How do I want each room to look? And then I started striving to get the room to look like it did in my mind. Clean, clear surfaces, nothing on the floor that wasn't supposed to be, and open furniture for anybody to sit down on, nothing piled anywhere. So if you do find that your clutter and your shopping has something to do with an emotional challenge that you're dealing with, heck, emotional challenge can even be being a single parent. There's a lot of stress in being a single parent. I've been one. I understand. But see if you can find something that will calm that situation down. Find something that will soothe you other than eating, other than shopping. And a lot of people that declutter find it's easier then to lose weight because so often that emotional eating that we do is tied along with whatever emotional challenge that we're dealing with that may also be causing the clutter. A lot of times we will grab sugary treats or carbs or things like that to try to make ourselves feel better. A lot of people want that same feeling by buying themselves something new. And those treats are a way of mothering ourselves and trying to calm ourselves and make ourselves feel better. But it's just like that ice cream bar that you eat. While you're eating it, you're like, this is great. And then after you eat it, you're like, why did I eat that? Now I feel guilty. I shouldn't have eaten it. And it's kind of the same way with clutter. Why did I accumulate all this? At the time, I thought it would bring me joy. I thought it would bring me happiness to have these extra figurines or this extra shelf that I had to dust. And then I look back and I think I would have had so much more happiness and time and comfort and calmness had I just not purchased all of those little figurines. We do have a tendency to abuse food or abuse shopping when we're trying to make ourselves feel better. It kind of numbs our brains and it brings us a sense of calmness that will be fleeting and it doesn't last very long, just like that ice cream bar. So, our challenge is to find other ways to make ourselves feel better. If someone would have told me how good I would feel, like watching those games get loaded in my daughter's car and knowing that they were leaving and that I had regained a spot for those 5 games, I would have never believed them because I was one of those people. I held on to things with both hands. I thought hanging on to these things gave me security, gave me comfort. But actually, hanging on to these things was part of my emotional challenge. And learning to let go of those things actually brought me joy. And I know whenever I lose a little bit of weight, that absolutely brings me joy. It brings me a lot more joy than that ice cream bar that I eat that I'm going to regret later. So I share what I experience as I go through it with you guys. And so many of you can relate to a lot of the things that I share. And I appreciate that so very much. When I started this YouTube channel, I kind of thought maybe I was just alone in some of these things that I was thinking and feeling. But since I've started sharing them with you guys, I've realized that so many of us are so similar. So many of us have felt the same way, and sometimes it's hard to put your finger on why you feel that way. And so during retirement, I've had more time to think things through and analyze some of these feelings that I've had over the years that I just haven't even had time to figure out what they're trying to tell me. And this is one of the ones that has really impacted my retirement. The time it's taken to declutter, the feelings I've gone through getting rid of things, and the calmness and the joy that it brings me every time I get stuff out of my house. Let me know in the comments below if you have experienced any of these feelings regarding eating or shopping or clutter, and I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope to see you in the next video.